for the year and probably our last for the year. So please, I encourage you to engage with us as much as possible. This week, we want to congratulate last week's winner, whose name is Shadia Turner. She won $200 in Sky Mall vouchers. And before that, we had a winner who had won the gift at Accra Hotel. So we want to congratulate Shadia. And this week's prize, if you engage with us enough on social media at Division of Youth Affairs 246 on Facebook, you will And this evening, this is our final show for the year, and it's our third one for the year, so we want you to engage with us as much as possible. The Listen Up a Card show is brought to you for young people by the Division of Youth Affairs in the Ministry of Youth, Sport, and Community Empowerment. The first thing we want to do this afternoon is congratulate our last week's winner, whose name is Shadia Turner, and they won $200 worth of Sky Mall vouchers. This week, you can win it with us by engaging with us on Division of Youth Affairs 246, YouTube, Facebook, and just be interactive. And the most interactive guests based on our criteria, they will win. It's a magnificent prize, must I say, a dinner for two at Divi South Winds Resort. So just a review of last show, we spoke about returning to society and the reintegration of ex-offenders. And we had a magnificent panel last week and before that. This week, we are now speaking about the transition to a republic, from independence to republic. And I have 4 young persons here on the panel with me today, and I'll just tell you their names and a bit about them. So we have Miss Okera Hill. Okera was recently admitted to the bar in Barbados, and she's interested in international trade and economics. She aspires to work in this field at some point. She's not only an attorney, but she also is a music teacher. Well, yes, a music teacher. Good afternoon, Okera. We have Kevin Sluggy Dan Watson, and he attended Barbados Community College music program and has a grade 7 distinction in voice and performances from the London College of Music. He has 16 years experience in the Royal Barbados Police Force Band. As a radio host on the popular program Fireworks and Bajan Rhythm and Rhyme, he helped to propel many of our young nation's youth to a wide audience. Good afternoon, sir. We have Mr. Khaleel Kothdiwala. And Khaleel is an undergraduate law student and former head boy of the Queen's College School with a passion for people, civic and current affairs, history, politics, language, law, foreign policy, effective communication, a well-versed man. He's a prominent national and international debater. Most recently, as you would have seen in the aftermath of the CXC 2020 results, Khaleel Kothdiwala emerged as a leading youth advocate, student youth advocate, giving his voice to the multitudes of disadvantaged students in that realm and ilk. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tyrell. Thanks for having me.
Lastly, we have Mr. Tyree Wilson, who is 19 years old and a second-year law student at the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus. And Tyrique possesses a love for constitutional law and has published articles of this nature in the nation's newspaper and his own blog, The Legal Breakdown. He also has a forthcoming article entitled Revisiting the Savings Law Clause, Where Are We Now? In the Faculty of Law, peer-reviewed student law review. An article he just wrote in the first semester of his first year at the University of the West Indies. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tyrell. Thanks.
Yes, no problem. In keeping with today's topic, From Independence to Republic, I want to begin the show with an excerpt of one of our young people, speaking about the transition to a republic and their thoughts on it.
This was such a patriarchal society that when we removed the Queen as our head of state, I feel like we're now taking back the power into our own hands. Hopefully, that's my hope for us becoming a republic.
Well, I feel positive about Barbados becoming a republic. I don't feel negatively against it. However, I wish that we weren't a parliamentary republic. I wish that the people were able to have a vote, have a say in who becomes president, put the power back into the people's hands, because I think at the end of the day, that shows ultimate confidence in who we are. Not just becoming a republic, but trusting the people to know themselves and to know what they want and who they want to represent their beliefs and to represent them on the world stage. Yes, she may not be head of government, but she is our head of state.
Well, I guess if that was Barbados or Barbadians want to do, that's cool. Yeah, true. Which one I'll go best, you know? Very hard. Anyway.
For me, Barbados becoming a republic, I see it as a good thing, but on the other hand, it doesn't really bother me in a sense. You get what I mean? Like, it is what it is.
Late start this afternoon, but we do promise a very exciting show as soon as we come back from the break. Stay with us. Okera, we've just seen the video of young persons expressing their views on the transition to a republic. I just want to ask you, beginning with you, but I'll ask each panelist, how does being a republic, how does this affect the everyday citizen, the average guy on the street, the average Joe, as they may say?
Well, I agree with most of the persons who would have spoken in the interviews that we just saw. And I think it's a matter of how you view it for yourself. For me, I believe that it shows that we take matters into our own hands, and it's no longer a matter of talk, but it's now a matter of action. In the sense, we have been waiting for this for about 30 years, or 30 or so years, or more. And then we've been hearing politicians say that we're moving towards republic constantly, and then finally, with this particular 55th independence celebration, we've seen, okay, it has been done. So for the everyday citizen, it shows that we can move from just talking and sharing ideas to actually putting things into action. And it shows that you, as an everyday citizen, you can now take matters into your own hands and make things happen for yourself in that sense. And the symbolism of saying, okay, we are no longer relying on the queen to make or as the symbol of who we are, but we're saying that our people, we as a people are able to represent who we are and what it is that it means to be Barbadian. So it changes the whole narrative for us now and for the next generation. It changes the whole narrative of our history, and that is a very significant thing for an everyday citizen to have in the back of your mind, because it changes how you think and how you see how you can impact the economy, what it means to be an international yet a Barbadian citizen. Um, all those things come into play when you hear, okay, we finally become a republic.
Yes, thank you. And Khaleel, I'll pose the same question to you. How does this step and this move to becoming a republic, how does this affect the everyday citizen?
Yeah, thank you, Tyrell. You know, it is of such profound significance to each and every single one of us who have the privilege of being able to say that we are Barbadian. The reality is that in the United Kingdom, in England certainly, since the fall of the House of Plantagenet and the rise of the Tudors, the English kings have almost uniformly always been born in England. Of course, there were some of the kings along the way were born in Germany and so on. But the reality is that for all of these years, the English themselves have had the ability to have a head of state, a king, a queen, who has been of English birth and later of British birth. The people of Barbados therefore have asserted that we want the very same thing. We want the same thing that nearly every country across the world enjoys today, and that is to have at our apex, the apex of our state, an individual who is intensely relatable to us. Her Majesty the Queen is no doubt a phenomenal figure, a well-liked figure, and who commands a great deal of respect. But when we look at Her Excellency the President of Barbados, and it gives me great pleasure to refer to Dame Sandra Mason in that manner, she is a personage who is immediately and instantly relatable to all of us in Barbados. Born of working class origins in St. Philip, who has risen continuously, a life of first certainly, in her legal career, and who has risen to the very highest office in the land, the office that ought to represent each and every one of us. So that every single person, every single one of us as young people, every young child can have a sense that this country undoubtedly, we have felt like this since independence, no doubt, but that there can no longer be any doubt about the fact that the country belongs to all of us and that it represents at every single level, as Okera said, what it means to be Barbadian. And to that, for that reason, the choice of Her Excellency was fantastic, because she herself represents the very best of what it means to be Barbadian. And the final thing I will say is that it allows us the opportunity to use this as a springboard for each and every one of us to reaffirm our commitment to the national ideal, to assert not only our rights, but also the fact that we have responsibilities to each other and to this country. And I feel that this is a perfect and prime opportunity for us to have these kinds of important conversations to chart the way forward.
Thank you. And Tyrique, you've just heard Khaleel. He gave us a mouthful, and it's enough we can put it in a textbook. I want to know, you heard Khaleel speak about a Barbadian being a head of state of Barbados, and you heard him speak about English being the head of state of England. How do you think that this move towards a republic, it affects the everyday person?
So when we consider the broader spectrum of a transition away from a constitutional monarchy to a democratic republic, one would be right to conclude that such a transition is largely rooted in symbolic and ideological change, so that the vast majority of the effects which are to be had on the everyday Barbadian are psychosocial. Psychosocial in the sense that you're now removing these psychological appendages to Westminster, to Great Britain, and you're now removing certain paints and certain ideas which, frankly, undermine what it truly means to be independent. And ideas such as Barbados being Little England. So that now this transition gives us an opportunity, while acknowledging and reflecting on our past and respecting that past and that history. But we're now also engaged in the process of creating a renewed national identity. And this is very important. I really don't think that it can be underscored enough. It really is more than empty symbolism. Um, but the problem with this, however, is that the everyday Barbadian wouldn't necessarily feel the psychosocial effects. They're not tangible. You can't feel or you can't you know, experience psychosocial effects. So that many Barbadians have argued that this transition felt like a token step. Many Barbadians have come to me and say, well, Tyrique, I woke up the Wednesday after independence and I went to work the same way. I am as broke as I was before this transition as I am now. But I do believe that these psychosocial effects, this symbolic change, this ideological change, it can't be underscored enough. And surely, if we are preaching that we are an independent nation, then our minds can't be bonded to the metropole.
Thank you. And Kevin, what are your thoughts on this? How does it affect the everyday Barbadian? Sluggy?
Yes, please.
Yeah. How does this affect the everyday Barbadian?
Sorry, listen. Sorry about that.
No problem. I know you like Sluggy.
Sorry.
So I will go with.
No. It's okay. That's sorry. I just thought you was talking to someone as well. For me, right, bro? For me, I think it was a statement that had to be made. It was a statement that had to be made. Some people was asking why no. I was asking people why not. It's still, to me, it's still crazy that the head of state of Barbados being a Barbadian is such a big thing, and people push back against it. It just goes to show, bro, how important this statement is. How important it is for us to become a republic right now, to make the statement of, listen, thanks for what the Queen did for us. Thanks for the ties we had. We are not saying we are enemies, of course. We are still all human beings. We must still all live in love and harmony. And we must still all help each other in whatever way we can. But I think that, no, especially in 2021, which it should have been done 100 years ago, that the head of state should be a Barbadian, and is a statement to make. And that is the biggest thing I got away from all of this. And I'm extremely glad, happy, and proud that we became a republic, and I'm extremely happy that the public is seeing the effects of it already. Already the conversation is changing. Check the conversations we are having now throughout the communities where we're working. You hear people talking different. People is questioning why. And then you will hear some guys say, well, I'm a Barbadian, we're wrong with the head of the state being a Barbadian, even if it's a ceremonial figure, even if the person is not in charge of government. What is wrong with that person being a Barbadian? That would give my children and my grandchildren something else to aspire to. And then also, like, deep down in our psyche, is going to add some sense of pride to every Barbadian. And if you don't see the effects right now, for sure in years to come, maybe look at our children and our grandchildren, we are going to be able to see the difference, especially some of us who are still young, still able to be alive during that time. You understand? Because the conversation needed to be had. We We need to see the greatness in ourselves. We need to see the beauty in being a Barbadian, and that is the biggest statement and takeaway I got from it. And like I said, it was a statement that had to be made known.
Yes, thank you. And throughout the whole Republic conversation, what we've been hearing mostly is the process, the process, the process. I want your thoughts on the process. Some persons may deem that there was no consultation, but then we heard of all the commissions held back in the day, the numerous commissions at that. So what are your thoughts? Are these commissions still valid? Or was the process one that takes everyone's views into consideration? So Khaleel, I begin with you.
Yeah, yes, Tyrell, I have a very positive view of the process, and the fact is that that process has allowed us, no matter who might wish to criticize it, it is that process that has brought us to this stage. And today, on the 11th of December, we are a republic. We have been discussing this for so many years. We discussed this with the Cox Commission. We discussed this with the Ford Commission. In the Ford Commission, as you know, we came closer than ever. And that since the submission of the Ford Commission's report, I am not familiar with any substantial group of people who oppose, not the process, but who oppose Barbados itself becoming a republic with a Barbadian head of state. And so that, therefore, in the absence of any kind of opposition from any segment of the society to that central goal, we then set about this process, and it has allowed us to get there. There are those who want to say that we should have perhaps engaged in the more far-reaching constitutional changes first, and I understand the logic. I understand that is the conventional way of doing things, but the fact is that those conversations that will no doubt happen now over the course of the next year and beyond are going to be complex conversations. They are going to be, at times, no doubt, contentious conversations, because we all have different perspectives on a variety of different issues. We saw recently the challenges we had with respect to the place of religion in society. And all of these are conversations that will have to be had. So that my own view is that had we front-loaded this process by having all of that consultation on those other matters, then it is quite likely that we would have been so caught up in debate and discussion and so on that we would then never have taken the ultimate, this first step, and we would still be here 20 years down the line. This way has allowed us to take the step that everyone agrees with, more or less. I mean, as I say, I cannot point to 20 people. I cannot count to 20 people who are opposed to a Barbadian being the head of state of Barbados, not the process or anything else about that central thing. And so that we have done this, and now we can use this momentum to propel ourselves forward to have that essential constitutional conversation with all sectors of our society, every single sector of our society, particularly our young people, and particularly the general public.
Yes, and thank you. So Okera, what are your thoughts on the process?
Yeah, so I agree with Khaleel in the sense that it was something that had to be done, and the dilly-dallying with all the rhetoric and the as Brock Gonzalez called it, the universal talk. I think that we've been doing a lot of talking, we've been doing a lot of complaining in the past, and action needed to be taken. It's been a while that this has been promised. Barrow back in his day, he too looked forward to this day, and it has been something that was, it needed to be done. And as Khaleel said, if we continued with arguing back and forth as we've seen people doing, it would have stalled the process, and it would have just continued to go on with a lot of chatter. So yes, persons may say that we want a lot more involvement, and it was to go to a referendum, it was said, and there are questions as to why that wasn't done. But as the saying goes, where there are too many cooks in the kitchen, then you might not get good food. So I think the government taking that stand to say, okay, this is where we're going, it was done. And as another thing is, you do something and ask for forgiveness, and then you get permission after. So I think that was what was done, and I can't fault the that being done.
Yes, I like the analogies you drew upon just now. So, Kevin, what are your thoughts on the process to becoming a republic and the various consultations that there were in the past? Sluggy?
Yes, please. For me, no, you can call me Kevin, bro. It's no problem. You call me anything. Be good. For me, I've heard numerous complaints about the process and people saying they were given enough consultation and so on, which I understand. But I figure what people really mean is they want more information on what type of republic we really became. But for me, there's no consultation or explanation that I would need in order to become a republic. That's just for me. I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer. You know, I'm a Barbadian, or I had to say it's going to become a Barbadian. We're going to cut those ties with England, and then for me too, I will be honest with myself as well. Like we were not ruled by England. It wasn't anything nice. It wasn't anything good. It wasn't over there. This is my child that I love and I'm going to take care of. It wasn't any of that. It was it wasn't anything nice. That's best I can put it for television. It was not anything nice. So becoming a republic for me meant something totally different. So as far as the process, there wasn't no explanation for me needed. What can happen now that we're a republic? We can share the info and educate the public, and like my good brothers and sisters say, use this momentum now to keep the message there and teach. That's me.
Yes, and we'll get Tyreek's view on this before we move on to another conversation. So, Tyreek, what are your thoughts on the process and the consultations held in the past?
Yes. So I do agree with Khaleel to a certain extent, rather. The reality is, Barbadians did support the transition of constitutional monarchy, and perhaps the greatest evidence of this would have been the election. Republicanism formed part of the manifesto for the Barbados Labour Party, for the Barbados Labour Party, rather, last election, so that when Barbadians voted them in, they in essence voted for this transition to republicanism. However, when we consider the issues that Barbadians have had with the process, the issues don't particularly emanate from this elitist view, insofar as, okay, we've had various constitutional commissions, they don't definitely wrong. Most of the concerns that I have seen have emanated from the lack of public education. So surely it is wanting to
Yes.
say that we have had public consultations in the sense of the Court Commission and the Ford Commission. But when we come down to the ordinary man, the ordinary citizen, the ordinary Barbadian, many of them are unaware of what being a republic truly means. Many of them are unaware of what type of transition, or they were unaware rather, of what type of transition we were going to take. Were we going to be a republic with a ceremonial president or with an executive president? So that any discussion with regards to whether Barbadians didn't necessarily agree with the transition are rendered moot, because in my opinion that's not the root of Bajan's concern. The root of Bajan's concern was, or mainly was, the lack of public education. Although Kevin rightfully said for him personally he wouldn't have needed, you know, any explanation as to why this transition would occur. That's not the case for for the ordinary Barbadian rather. And that is a dangerous path to take. We have to be very cognizant of the fact that many of these discussions do occur at very academic levels, and a concerted effort must be taken to educate the ordinary man. A lack of education wholeheartedly was the root of many concerns in Barbados.
Thank you, Tyreek. So we will now transition into another conversation, and this conversation being that of the national hero. But first, I want to have one of the excerpts shown of the thoughts of young people on us becoming, or rather installing, our brand new national hero.
As to Rihanna becoming a national hero, I think being born and raised here, she realizes how big of an honor that is. And the only thing that concerns me a lot about it is, well, she has really represented us on the world stage. She has really brought a lot of attention to Barbados and the quality that we could produce. She is still young. She's still
inexperienced.
Yes, and I feel like this might be placing like a lot of weight on her shoulders that maybe she could have had when she has more experience. She's already an ambassador of Barbados, and then you put
National hero,
right,
you add more responsibilities on top of what she already has to deal with. And as a business person and living in the business spectrum of life, I don't think that she is capable of keeping her image completely clean, and that will bring shame towards Barbados, which I think is a sad thing. But I think that she is doing a wonderful job at it so far, and I hope that she continues to do a wonderful job and lives up to the expectations which we place on her.
About Rihanna becoming one of the national heroes of Barbados, I'm just happy that she's recognized by her people for doing what she did, and that she was given this opportunity, and just happy about it. So, it's a good thing that they recognized her, and yeah.
Because if you're doing good, you get a choice, see it grinding and see it shining, keep on. You wait to the top and make sure Barbados is spot. Continue.
I feel that she's a good person because she did a lot for Barbados, and I feel it's a good thing that put she as a national hero.
For Rihanna becoming a hero, and most people don't see that Rihanna has done quite a few things for Barbados. Like people clearly forget that she's donated ventilators and stuff when COVID hit, all that kind of things. Even like if they had a post with all the things that she had done. So at the end of the day, there's a first, and she's the first living. Well, she's the hero that most young people would study.
So we are all young people on this show, and now that we've seen our new national hero be someone in our age range, in our generation, and someone we can identify with, how do we feel about this? I'll start with Okera. What are your thoughts on Rihanna becoming a national hero? We've heard the video. Some people think that it's a great move. Some people have, even on WhatsApp, we've seen the circulation of the image where they had a list of things that Rihanna has done for Barbados. So what are your thoughts?
It's funny you should ask me this, because I was trying to not get into the conversation, because I recognize that she has done all that she has done, and she has achieved all that she has achieved, and she has represented Barbados globally. So for me, she did what she had to do, and getting named a national hero, well, that was for her. But I think it was a move that, as I said, it's the symbolism of it, and as was said, the shift is showing that Barbadians can be global citizens. So not only Barbadians, but young Barbadians can be global citizens, and they can achieve accomplishments such as this. It's not anybody who comes from a certain economic background or a certain a certain class in society, but ordinary persons like Rihanna, who came from down
Westbury Road.
Westbury side, thank you, could now ascend to a national hero. So it inspires young people that this is something that is not far out of your reach. And I think the message that was trying to be communicated was that you too can come from that background. You can work, you can innovate, you can create, you can do things to impact on your community. And because you do these things to impact on your community, and you do these things to represent Barbados, then these are titles that are not far from your reach. So I thought of it in that sense. And when I heard people saying that age is a factor that should be considered in being a national hero, that showed me the mindset of our society. And it showed me how even getting a job in government, how some people think, oh, she's too young to be put in this position or to get this particular job, and you cry down young people because you think that they're incompetent. So it showed me that this government, have to say, because they did it, they're moving from that kind of thinking and saying we're including young people in these conversations, and in their in the dialogue and the action that we are going to take in the future. So I thought about it along those lines.
Thank you. And Tyree, Okera believes that this is a great step by this government and that the government is pushing young people to be their best. What are your thoughts on Rihanna becoming our new national hero?
I want to start by saying that much like Okera, I was trying to avoid this conversation. But I do want to charge the rhetoric which mandates that young people have to pay their dues before they have been awarded. Surely Rihanna has gone above and beyond in supporting Barbados' economic development and in supporting Barbados' social development. When the COVID pandemic first hit our shores, she was one of the first people to step forward and donate ventilators. She's funneled hundreds of thousands of dollars into our hospital for its improvement, so that any contention as to whether Rihanna deserves or doesn't deserve um, to be given or to be awarded the status of a national hero perhaps is ill-founded, because she, in my opinion, she has done enough. She's done more than enough. She deserves this. She deserves everything, and she deserves more. As the Prime Minister said, Barbadians can be global citizens with Bajan roots. Rihanna has shown unrelenting commitment to being Barbadiana. Whenever Rihanna gives an interview, she always speaks about Japan. She always speaks about where she comes from, her background, so that apart from all that she has donated on the economic side, she has never departed from her roots. And that to me is worthy of being awarded status of a national hero.
Yes. So, Khaleel, you've heard Okera, you've heard Tyrique. What are your thoughts?
I absolutely agree. The look, I would encourage anyone who has not seen it to look up on YouTube the documentary that CBC produced on Rihanna that was aired recently, and it was a fantastic documentary, and it really spoke to not only her but also everything that she has been able to achieve. I have also seen the posters circulating on WhatsApp and Facebook and so on, and she has done so much, quite apart from being a singer, simply, quite apart from being a businesswoman. She has been a philanthropist and a humanitarian. But look, we have to understand that we have to modify as the years go on our understanding of a hero or a heroine. In terms of persons like the Right Excellent Bassa, I certainly hope that we will never have to have someone like Bassa again. And I say that because what I mean when I say that is that Bassa had to fight a rebellion against slavery. And I would hope that no Barbadian shall ever have again to suffer the iniquity of slavery from which a hero will have to be born to rebel against. I would hope at the same time that there will be no Barbadian that will come under the yoke of colonialism for which there will need to be a Grantley Adams or a Errol Barrow to rescue us from. And so that as we go on there, we are going to face new situations and new realities. And that will have to influence our perception of what is a hero. At present, we have a president who is from rural St. Philip. We have one national hero who is from the Bayland in St. Michael, and we have another national hero who is from Westbury Road in St. Michael. We still have too bad a habit in this country of labeling certain communities and the schools that certain people attend, and the people that come out of certain communities as bad, and as hopeless and as not being able to achieve anything. We have at the highest levels of this country that has been recognized people of ordinary circumstances of their birth, but who have achieved extraordinary things, and who ought to cause all of us to stop in this new Republic Barbados and reevaluate the way that we think about people who we think come from certain types of places. This is Barbados, and that in our country, in the Republic Barbados, it is our responsibility never to throw away any single person in any part of this country, because each and every single one of us have that potential to be able to reach the heights that our president has, and certainly that our national heroes have, but that we have to provide the space for our young people to so do. And that is something else now that we have to use the momentum of republicanism to be able to achieve.
Sluggy, you've heard the strong support of our new national hero. What are your thoughts on this?
The saddest thing about this is I feel that sometimes the thinking, the old way of thinking, or the way we think before, we filter it down to the young people and children. And when you can hear young people saying that you think Rihanna is too young at her age, Rihanna is too young at that age, and she, because they think she might make mistakes, and they know what it is. It is this thinking that we must live a life first, be old. Hopefully we are good at hiding our flaws away from the public so they never see our flaws, and then we dead a perfect person and then make that person a hero. So it's this thinking that Rihanna's a hero now. So if we see Rihanna on Twitter cursing somebody, she's no longer worthy to be a hero, because of course we know like none of our heroes and leaders don't curse, don't use bad words. I mean, like, these things, like, I would like a lot of things to go away. Like, Rihanna is one of the greatest artists ever. That is one thing. Rihanna, like my brother said, a humanitarian extraordinaire, done so much all over the world. And then she's one of the most successful business persons, certainly one of the most successful black business persons. And she, from right here in Barbados, she's not one of the most successful Barbadian business persons. She's one of the most successful business persons in the world. She's one of the greatest artists ever. And they ask everyone this simple question: if Rihanna was just a footballer or a cricketer, one thing she was the greatest at. If she was just the greatest cricketer ever or the greatest footballer ever, we would not question if she could be a national hero. We would never question that. But it's just because we think of her as just a girl that starts singing music. But it's much bigger than that, and it's one of the reasons why glad we have shows like this, and all corporates like myself who represent culture, entertainment, and community. And like my brother said, the thing about schools and where certain people come from, that is one thing I think we desperately need to get away from, because it's crazy that someone would question Rihanna being a national hero. I mean, like, she's one of the greatest female icons to ever exist, not Barbadian, in the world, and that is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, she's doing things that would take people their entire life to do. Yes. I don't see a question. To be one of the greatest at one thing, and there's multiple things. Like, we ain't talking about Fenty Beauty, we ain't talking about Savage Fenty, we are not talking about the Puma deal, we are not talking about the Nike deal, we are not talking about all the platinum albums. Those are things that's rattling off that I ain't able to begin to study the other things. Yeah, all of those things, she's the greatest at. Come on.
Yes. So, in wrapping up, 30 seconds each, while wrapping up, I just want you to tell me, what does this new Republic of Barbados mean for youth development? Are we going to see a move towards more youth development, or are we going to remain the same? Khaleel, we'll start with you, then Okera, Tyrique, and then Sluggy again.
As I continue to say, we must use the republicanism as the momentum to drive the vessel Barbados, as the president said, forward. Youth development, this country cannot have development, and I will say it again and again, cannot have development without youth development. And so that must be the guiding, that must guide every single government going forward and every single person who lives in this country. This government has begun significant work on youth development, and I would hope then that that will be propelled by republicanism. But more broadly, Tyrell, in my closing comments, to say that we must use this opportunity to reevaluate our own responsibilities to each other and to our nation as we move forward. And as I continue to say, to never throw away any single one of our citizens, but to recognize that Barbados can only prosper when we provide the environment for each and every one of us to prosper.
Thank you, Khaleel. Okera, your closing remarks on youth development and the Republic.
Yeah, so for me, I was listening to the song by Adele, To Be Loved, and some of the words that she says, I will never learn if I never leap. I will never yearn if I never speak. And I think this speaks into the narrative that will be presented for the youth. We took the step of saying, okay, we would be our own. We would take matters into our own hands. We're no longer relying on the crown. We're taking this leap. We're declaring to the world, we are a republic. We're determining our own future. So for the young person now, that speaks action and taking ourselves and going towards the globe and saying that I'm taking Barbados, not just being local, but going towards a more international, a more regional frame of mind, and saying I'm not going to be confined to these waters, but exploring, innovating, educating myself, being a lifelong learner, and looking at the charter and seeing how the charter is driving us into this direction.
Yes.
It speaks positively as to where we are going in the future. So yeah. I look forward to these things. Yeah.
Thank you, Okera. And a very strict 30 seconds, Tyrique, and then Sluggy.
Yes. So with regards to development, I think the current administration has already done a very good job in advancing the youth interest. We can look at the future of Barbados, where the government just put $3 million in the hands of youth in order to advance youth development. However, this is just the beginning. Of course, we need further advancement of the interests of young people, and majority of those interests really do lie in diversification of the labor market insofar as economic franchisement. Many young people would often say that they have the degrees from the University of the West Indies, but when it's time for them to enter the workforce, surely they can't make use of this gift of education that they have just received. So that when we have funding, we also have pragmatic change. Pragmatic change in this particular context being diversification of the labor market and providing more economic enfranchisement for young people.
Yes, thank you. Sluggy, 25 seconds.
Yes, please. Yes, please. I like the direction that I'm seeing the government heading in terms of tying the Republic and youth development. I must salute quickly places like the National Transformation Initiative and the wonderful work they're doing, lots of free courses for our young people. And I must salute the Division of Youth as well, who are doing so many different programs with young people, and places like the National Cultural Foundation as well, who are all places that allowed me and my company, BIM Got Talent, to help thousands of young people. So I must salute the government on the direction they're heading when it comes to youth development and tying the community and republicanism all in one.
Yes, thank you. And this has been the Listen Up Okera show brought to you by the Division of Youth Affairs in the Ministry of Youth, Sport and Community Empowerment. Unfortunately, this has been our last show for the year. Our next show will be in January. So please stay with us until next year. See you soon. And I think that we need to have a part 2 of this discussion because there's so much more to talk about relating to the Republic. And as we see, the government is definitely going in the direction of benefiting the youth and uplifting them. So this has been the Listen Up Okera show, and see you in January.